I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good to see everyone here this morning. Well, I guess Commissioner Aaron's is not here yet, and I'm assuming he's either at guard duty or he's in court. So anyway, otherwise it's, I guess you could say it's Tuesday, December 10th, 2024. It's 8:30, so we're ready, I guess, to commence and do business. Anyway, before I ask for a motion to approve the agenda, is there any public input on it? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Move to approve?
Second.
A motion by Landine, second by Schmidt. Is there any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Gibbon?
Yes, motion carried. Next, from the public, do you have any board action to approve the consent agenda items? Any consent agenda items you'd like input on? If not, can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Landine, second by Schmidt to approve consent agenda items. Any discussion? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Gibbon?
Yes. Okay, moving on to our regular business. Item number one, I guess, Madam Auditor, that is you.
Good morning. It's time for the public hearing for adopting supplements to the 2024 budget. I have listed there the different departments that need the budget supplement. One correction that I do have on here is I've been talking to the IT director, and he said that he does not need the supplement in his budget, so I'll be removing that out of the part of it. Otherwise, is there any questions?
The total amount of all of these is approximately how much?
The total amount of the supplement, well, I don't have the total there because it's on different funds, but probably over 500,000.
Okay. Most of these budgeted items in it, correct?
They are not budgeted items, but they are board-approved items that have happened throughout the year. If you look in the notes, I have what the reason for the increase was and the resolution that the board passed to make the payment.
Are there any questions for the auditor by the commission? Okay, is there any public input on this?
It's a public hearing.
Pardon?
Public hearing.
This is a public hearing, okay, so we need to have proponents. Any proponents? Seeing any opponents? Okay, seeing none, no other public input, I guess,
Mr. Chairman, move for approval?
okay, Commissioner Schmidt has a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Landine?
Minus the IT
IT
supplement.
Department, as so noted. Yeah.
Okay, and a second by Commissioner Landine. Any discussion?
Comment, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any public comment on the matter? All right, I guess. we have a
My
motion.
comment, actually, Mr. Chairman, is a recognition that majority of this is due to an incident that happened to flooding in the Highway Department for a replacement of a motor vehicle that was damaged beyond repair. So, thank you.
Yes. Okay, we have a motion and a second in discussion. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Gibbon?
Yes, motion carried. Thank you. Next, is our sheriff here?
He's not, but I'm going to speak on the item for him.
Okay,
We have an agreement with the Sioux Falls Area Humane Society for Animal Control Services, impound facility operations agreement for 1/1/2025 to 12/31/2025. The contract includes a $3,000 per month flat service fee. This is approximate increase of 267 or 260% and is going to require a budget supplement next year. I do have Michelle Hetschel from the Humane Society here to speak about the increase.
Thank you.
State your name and address, please.
Michelle Henschel. I live at 1604 South Dolly Drive in Brandon, South Dakota. So I've been with the Humane Society for about a year now. I was brought on last year as Chief Financial Officer, and currently I'm serving also as Interim Executive Director while we are in transition with our Executive Director role. Part of the task that was assigned to me when I brought on was to figure out why we were losing money on an operating basis, on a month-to-month basis. And one of the main reasons is our humane welfare contracts were sadly far behind the amount of cost that it takes to run that department. This year is the first year that we have had the departments separated, expenses allocated, and really understand the true costs of what it takes to provide services. So unfortunately, that did result in a lot of increases for our jurisdictions that we serve. We had about 37 jurisdictions that we served in 2024 or are serving in 2024. We are expanding that. We sent out 48 contracts for next year and did not know how that would go, but it has gone very well so far. So we were kind of at a point where we thought if the citizens, if the counties and cities can't afford the cost of the services, we may need to look at doing away with the department. And so we went ahead and made the adjustments needed in our finances, sent the contracts out that way, and so far I've been receiving very good response. So if you want any detail on what the costs are, basically the main thing is what I would call stand-ready costs. So it's not that we're constantly going out on calls and are just at capacity. It's that you have to have somebody on call 24/7. So we're doing that right now with a department of 3.5 people. So basically, we have 3 people who have to take those on-call shifts on a rotating basis all the time. And that is the main cost by far in the department. Secondary costs would be the cost of having the vehicles ready and maintained and ready to go, and then insurance and vaccinations for the staff and all of the training that goes along with it. So we're really kind of down to a bare bones budget, and we were at a point where we either needed to make it right and make it break even, or we needed to look at doing away with it. So like I said, we've had great response so far. It's looking like we're going to be able to go forward and continue serving. We look forward to that. We've had a great relationship with the county and your officers, and hope that you will approve this increase.
Any questions by this commission?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
do you have any idea how many residents or how much Lincoln County contributes to your overall impact with animals and stuff like that?
Yes, for the Humane Officer Department, so the department that does do the services for animal control, it's about 12% of our calls, and that's been really steady from 2021 through the current year.
What are your total calls? Approximately, I mean.
You know how many calls?
For Lincoln County specifically?
Go ahead, go up to the mic
This-
and state your name and address, please.
Yeah, Kaylee Har. I live in Sioux Falls currently, but if you're looking for the total call volume, like overall or just Lincoln County?
Yeah.
Overall?
Yeah.
We push anywhere from 1,000 up to 1,500 calls per year. And that doesn't include, that's just by call, that's the actual case. We do multiple trips on those as well. So if it's a bite, anything like that, that's 3 additional trips where we have to go from base out to the location back 3 different times. So the number of calls that you see, whether it be the 1,000, 1,500, is not the total number of times that we are dispatched to an area, but just to give you an idea on that. So 12% is Lincoln County. I think Minnehaha sits right around 32, 33% right now.
Any other questions?
What, under the old contract, what was Lincoln County paying prior to this new proposal?
Your monthly charge was $836.12. And then the after-hours calls and mileage was on top of that. Average total monthly bill this year has been $1,070, or about $82 a call. Our costs are over $188 a call. So we've been losing about $106 per call on the Lincoln County contract this year. This was one of our contracts that got unfortunately further behind than many of the others, so I know it's a startling increase.
Are you feeling you'll have to hire another person or a part-time person?
We may, yeah, at least go up to 4 FTEs would probably be advisable, just because being on call that often burns people out.
Okay. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can you help me understand then if there was such a shortfall, who over the years have been making up that shortfall?
That's a good question. So we have been losing money, and the way the finances have kind of been operating is we get kind of a windfall gift every once in a while and tuck that away, and then we end up eating up that gift over the coming years. And so we've kind of been living by hope that one of those windfall gifts comes in every few years. And my job has been to try to stabilize things so that when those windfall gifts come, they can be invested, and the earnings help support this society in a more sustainable manner.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Not of this person. There's some discussion, Mr. Chair.
You got the calculator out there, Commissioner Schmidt?
Yep.
Okay. While we're waiting, is there any public input on this matter? Come on up, Mr. Timmerman.
Good morning, Commissioners. Harold Timmerman, Lincoln County Emergency Management. I was at a incident recently where the Humane Society came out and removed a large amount of animals. It was unsafe conditions, it was undesirable conditions, and the care and compassion that was shown for each animal and the resident who came back to help us was beyond measure. Every animal was treated as humanely as possible. The resident was treated that way with respect, and I would highly recommend the contract. It's a little more expensive, but without them, that incident would not have been able to have been mitigated by us at all. So without having them there, we'd have been in very deep trouble. And we need this contract desperately, because without them, we have no other way to go.
Thank you. Any other questions for Harold? Comments? Okay. All right. I guess, and no other public input. I guess, Mr. Commissioner Schmidt, did you get figured out?
Well, I
what you
just
needed?
wanted, I was going to use that same example, Harold, of if this wasn't available, what options the sheriff would have had wouldn't have been at all humane.
No,
From the stand.
would have not been able to get mitigated like.
No. And it was taken care of in a very professional fashion,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, we're asking board action on this matter. I guess I'm ready for a motion.
I have one
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
other question, but
Okay, go ahead.
I will have to have you come back to the mic. It's a question about finance.
Okay.
Basically, what was your shortcomings on average for the last 3 years about?
The department has been running on a shortfall of about $10,000 to $11,000 a month, just for the Humane Welfare Department. And again, the organization wasn't organized by department before, so I think that's one of the ways that the contracts had gotten so far behind, is there just wasn't the understanding of the costs involved.
And are all the contracts going up at approximately the same amount?
No, Lincoln counties had fallen further behind than the others. So I understand this large increase is not the same size increase percentage-wise as the other counties and cities, but we did take it based on call volume for everyone to be handling their share. So I believe Minnehaha County's contract went up 44%.
And forgive me for not knowing this, is there any other funding from the municipality that comes to you from from Lincoln County? So Lennox, they have separate contracts
Yes, they
with
have
you?
separate contracts, so your contract covers only things outside of the city limits. And some of the cities are on flat rate contracts and some are on pay-by-call contracts. many of the ones that don't have a lot of call volume are on a pay-by-call.
So, Ryan, just roughly, we're going to be looking at $36,000 plus the mileage a year.
And there will still be return to owner charges when we do have a stray that's claimed. Those pass-through costs will still come as a credit and help offset that.
Yeah, it's pretty substantial change. Services are well needed, but it's a pretty substantial impact.
I understand.
Mr. Chairman, you ready for a motion?
I'm sorry. what do
You
you-
ready for a motion?
Yes, I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve and authorize the chair to execute the agreement.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Landine, second by Schmidt. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Gibbon?
Yes, motion carried. Next, okay, Madam Auditor.
Next, we're got a board action to approve and authorize the chair to execute an agreement for detention services between Minnehaha County, Lutheran Social Services, South Dakota, and Lincoln County for the period of January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025. This year, there is an increase of 8.58% on the daily rate, while shelter care, community supervision, and evening reporting center is 2.4. Jamie is here to speak on the happenings of last year.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jamie Gravitt, Director of the Minnehaha County Juvenile Detention Center. The increase mainly has to do with the full years of interest on the new construction. Our operational cost is about $402 a day. In speaking with my matching person out in Pennington County, they're at about $405 a day. They have no construction costs. So we're hitting it pretty close to the number that we need to be at. Just some information on numbers comparing 2023 to 2024. In 2023, you used 489 beds at JDC. You had an average daily population of 1.34 youth a day. At Arise, you used 508 beds, average daily population of 1.39 kids a day. So far through November, you've used 669 beds at JDC, average daily population's 2 kids a day. And Arise, you've used 208 beds, an average of 0.62 kids a day. So you can see there's been some differences between 2023 and 2024. As far as community supervision goes, your days used are up 10%, and the average length of stay is up 5% as comparing those 2 years. I'd be open to any questions that you have regarding the contract or the services that we provide for Lincoln County.
For the public that are here, what are you talking about when you say detention services, just to inform them?
So we have Juvenile Detention Center. It's the most secure services for youth in custody. We also contract with Lutheran Social Services to provide shelter care services. Those are usually for a lower risk kid or a child in need of supervision type kid. We provide community supervision. Those are kids that are still going through the court process but don't necessarily need to be in detention but need a little more supervision, usually have an ankle monitor on, those types of things. Our officers are going out and checking on them all times of day, weekends, holidays. And then finally, there's evening report center services for the Lincoln County youth, but they have to go to a Sioux Falls school, which tries to fill those troubled times between after school and about 8:30 at night. So they go to the center, they are fed a meal, they get homework help, they get help finding a job, those types of things.
Are most teenagers?
Most are, yeah.
You have more males than females, or
Of
about the
course,
same?
yeah. Our female numbers have been up higher this year. We don't know why that is, but mostly males by an overwhelming number.
What's the average age?
15, 16,
15, 16?
yep.
Mr. Chairman, may I? May I?
Yes.
Thank you. Jamie, is there a way to get these increased numbers or percentages any earlier in the year when we're doing our budgeting? Or does it not work with your fiscal plan?
I can give you year-end numbers and year-to-date numbers.
But I mean, just the percentage increases, I mean, because we can see where it's trending just based on what we're spending, but the actual increase in the cost, so we're not getting too lopsided on our budgeting for the item?
I can try.
That's all I'm asking,
I'll
if there's a way
work
to
with
do it
our
earlier.
auditor to try and get an idea. That's usually how we do it. We use the same formula that they use for the county jail to do their bed rate. Where you see the large difference in cost of juveniles versus adults is, it all has to do with ratios that we have to maintain that jails don't have to. So for every 8 youth that we have in any room in the building, we have to have 1 staff per 8 kids. So it makes it a lot more expensive on the staffing side of things.
Sure, thank you.
Yes, go
I
ahead.
yield to Commissioner Schmidt.
I know that, I always like to ask a question, but do you see trends of why these young men and women are coming in? Is it due to any one particular thing? Is it drugs? Is it shoplifting? Is it lack of parenting? Is there any trends that you have seen?
The drugs are still a big issue. We're still seeing a lot of meth. Unfortunately, the big trend that we've been seeing is stolen cars with weapons in them. And then those weapons get into the hands of kids that don't think right. And we have incidents like what we had at the mall on Friday night. So unfortunately, there's too many weapons in the hands of kids right now. They're easily accessible. One of the things that hasn't affected Lincoln County so far is the amount of direct fileable adult cases. If a youth is 16 or older and they're charged with a high-level felony like murder, manslaughter, first-degree robbery, first-degree burglary, first-degree rape, those types of things, they can be direct filed into adult court. And then they have the opportunity to petition to come back to juvenile, but those cases take a very long time, and usually it's anywhere from a year to a year and a half before they get to the point where they decide if they're transferring it to, keeping it an adult or transferring it back to juvenile. So those can be very expensive youth to have.
Mr. Poppins?
Thank you. My question, forgive me if I had missed this, but did you break down by chance the fixed facility costs versus operational costs in the fee structure at all?
We didn't, so basically 402 out of that 497 is operational. The rest is going for the new facility.
So it just breaks down that the severity of it is the, back to your ratio, and the number of personnel and.
Correct. About, if I remember correctly, about 85% of my budget is personnel.
Any other questions? Is there public input on this matter? Okay, notice we're asked for board action on this matter.
Mr. Chairman, I'd offer a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion by Poppins, second by Landine. Any discussion? Okay, Alicia, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Gibbon?
Yes, motion carried.
Mr. Chair, one quick question. How's your construction coming on that new facility?
Thank you for that question. We're on track to, as far as construction goes, it's a 2-phase project. The first phase is basically housing units, education, recreation, medical, and intake. That is scheduled to be complete in August for us to move the kids into that part of the facility. When that happens, then they'll tear down the existing facility and build phase 2, which is mainly admin and court space.
Okay. All right.
So total completion is supposed to be, I think, October of '26.
For the public, tell them the location, would you?
Sure, it's at 4200 Southwest Avenue. If you're going south on 229, it's just before the Western Avenue exit, kind of close to Lifescape and Glory House, if you're familiar with that area.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, item number 4, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, Paul Anderson, Commission Admin Assistant. I'm here to ask for board action to join the Juvenile Justice Collaborative. to sign the memorandum of understanding to join it. This is a collaborative with Minnehaha County. It involves, and the Second Judicial Circuit. It involves judges, state's attorneys, sheriff's office. My understanding is that our own state's attorney and our own sheriff are going to be signing and joining this. It is a work group to share trends and tactics and come up with best practices, basically anything related to juvenile justice, to figure out how do we combat some of these issues that Jamie was just up here talking about. I think the work group meets about once a month or once a quarter, and they get presentations from interested parties. They discuss trends. They discuss diversion tactics, basically anything that is related to the juvenile justice world.
Okay, any questions for Paul?
No, I've actually already been sitting on that collaborative, and we just had our recent meeting. It was very informative. It was a big group of people working to figure out, juvenile justice and better ways to do things. So I think it's well worth it to do that.
Okay, any other comments or questions for Paul? Okay, any public input on the matter? If not, again, we're asking for board action.
I'd move to approve if you're ready for that.
Second?
Okay, motion by Landine, second by Schmidt. Is there any discussion? Okay, Alicia, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Gibbon?
Yes, motion carries. Next, item number 5, that is, again, Madam Auditor.
This is a board action to approve and authorize the chair to execute an agreement for descendant removal and transport services agreement effective 12/1/2024. This will be an agreement between Lincoln County and Dakota Embalming and Transport Service, Inc. for the transportation of descendant people in the city of Sioux Falls, Lincoln County. The agreement will automatically be extended for 1 year at the same terms.
This is between Lincoln County and the city of Sioux Falls, did you say?
No, Dakota Embalming and
Oh,
Transport
okay.
Service.
Yes.
We've had this before.
We have one currently with Canton Ambulance and Lennox Ambulance, but we haven't had an agreement in the city of Sioux Falls.
Will this be in addition to, Sherry?
Yes.
Okay.
They'll handle only within the city of Sioux Falls for now.
Okay, all right.
Okay, is there any other questions? If not, is there any public input? Okay, I guess.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Schmidt, second by Landine. Any discussion? Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Gibbon?
Yes, motion carried. Next, Madam Auditor,
We have received information from the Minnehaha Human Services Department regarding county assistant request case number 73923, case 114577, and case 55152. We're requesting to approve payment on those cases and those amounts. In the part of the contract with Minnehaha Services is for them to negotiate that, and this is what they've come up with.
any questions? Okay, is there any public input on this matter? Okay, you're not asking for a motion on this?
I am
correct?
asking for a motion to approve these payments.
You're not?
I am.
You
Yes.
are, okay. Is there a motion?
I'd move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Landine, second by Schmidt. Any discussion? Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Gibbon?
Yes, motion carries. Next,
This is still me.
number 7, board action again, and Sherry?
Yep, this is a request for 2024 contingency transfers. This is contingency transfers for budgets that have shortfalls on them. The total amount of the contingency transfers listed is $119,098. We have contingency amount in the amounts of $230,000. I have it listed here, the reasons for them. Do we have any questions?
Okay, any questions? None? I guess any public input? Okay, I guess I'm ready for a motion then.
Move to approve.
A motion to approve by Landine. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Commissioner Schmidt seconded.
Can I ask a question
any
prior
discussion?
prior to the vote? Sherry, just so people understand, this contingency money is set aside in a budget for G's items because while you budget as close as you can, sometimes issues happen, things happen that causes a budget shortfall. And this is kind of the shock absorber that we prepare a budget to accommodate.
Yes.
Okay.
For that explanation. Okay,
Madam, or Mr. Chair.
yes.
Not the question directed to you, but you may know the answer, the shortcoming in revenue for the 911. Any clear explanation on that?
Absolutely. So what we did is, we did the 911 contracts, we budgeted 450,000 in revenue, and it was not that much in actuality. So when we budgeted the 400-some thousand in revenue, then we didn't have to transfer as much cash at that point. Well, after reviewing it, we realized that we overstated the revenue on that.
And that's been adjusted for our next budget then, or is?
We'll have to do I think I think we might have the same problem, next year. I'm gonna look at it once I get the, accounts receivable set up for the 911 billings. If we do, I'll let you know at the beginning of the year.
Okay,
For the remainder of the board, that makes a significant, or for every taxpayer, makes a significant impact into the operation of that 911 service. There's been a lot of discussion in the past of that operation. I hope you take a severe look at it and see what options there may be. Thank you.
You know, the good thing about this is that we overstated the revenue, however, the 911 surcharge came in higher, so that's why it's only a smaller amount.
okay. Is there any other questions? If not, public input on this matter? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
Okay, a motion by Schmidt, seconded
I
by
thought we already
Poppins.
had,
We already had a motion.
We don't need a motion?
Needed
we had a
motion? Okay.
Landine first, or did the
Oh.
motion and Schmidt seconded
My,
it.
withdraw that.
Okay,
Why?
Now you-
Sorry.
Mine's mute then too.
okay. We have them withdrawn then. Do we need to
Maybe we
action to
should get the
withdraw them?
coffee back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Just saying.
Are we okay? Are we ready to move on to item
That
number?
reminds me, I still got a cup sitting in my truck. You mind if I go get that?
Did we vote?
No,
No.
we're having a comic relief over coffee.
Okay, let's move on then to.
Do the roll
Yeah,
call.
vote. Gotta do vote.
We have to
We gotta
vote.
vote.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Gibbon?
Yes, motion carried.
Sherry, what happens to the contingency if we don't spend it?
Nothing.
It goes back into the budget, doesn't it?
Well, nothing goes back into the
Yeah.
budget, it's just done.
Yeah, it's just an item, so.
Yep.
Okay, item number 8, 911 communications.
All right, so now, with the contingency transfer that you just did, I need to do a budget transfer of cash of $100,000 from the general fund to the 911.
Okay, any questions for the auditor? Any public input? Okay, I guess I'm ready for a motion then.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Landine, second by Poppins. Any discussion? Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Gibbon?
Yes, motion carried. Next, item number 9, Mr. Anderson.
Paul Anderson, Commission Admin Assistant. This is an item from we had taken up a couple weeks ago with distributing the national opioid settlement funds. This would be keeping the same plan as a couple weeks ago and with contingent on a return national opioid settlement fund use agreement.
Any questions for Paul, please? No other questions for Paul?
Paul, do you know, this was the full list of approved entities?
Yes, this was the full list of approved entities that had responded to the auditor, I believe is the way that it was described a couple weeks ago. There's a list from DSS that lists approved opioid treatment facilities, and these are from that list and had responded to our auditor.
Okay, any questions?
I guess, yeah, Mr. Chairman, I do. I had the opportunity to visit with majority of these entities over the last couple days. And I had a question as to the rationale or why we were, why, they're all deserving. It's just a matter of there isn't enough money ever for treatment and or prevention. I would have, I guess, in myself, after having the opportunity to visit with some of these, maybe made some changes. I think there's probably a very logical way that this was distributed, but my point being that I would like to kind of have an idea what that rationale was, and then we could, I think, come to terms with why one entity is getting additional funding over another entity, so.
Okay, any other comments or questions for Paul?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Excuse me, please, I'm not standing up because of any other reason, but there is a new knee attached to this left leg, and it is barking right now, so pardon me. When we have monies like this to be able to donate or to give to various nonprofits, I was privileged to run a nonprofit for over 2 decades and have written I don't know how many different grants. And I think there was discussion last week or 2 weeks ago on having RFPs sent out to various organizations that how they would spend this. Well, there's a lot of implications on that particular one, because when you start that, how are you going to evaluate? Is it monies for new projects? Is it monies for existing, their overall operation? But Commissioner Poppins, and I'll give you full credit on this, Commissioner, I'm not trying to pirate this idea from you. I think what we should start is we should have a couple of commissioners sit down and evaluate all of those organizations that we do give this money to evaluate their overall effectiveness and how that would be done. So I think that's probably the best way, and that way we keep track of what is our priority. Is our priority young people to keep them out of prison for parenting? Is it for victims of rape and incest? Is it for alcoholism? Is it for rehabilitation for men and women that are coming out of prison, for organizations that help them come into regular society? So there's all kinds of these wonderful organizations that do need support. And I think we should vet them and see and stretch those dollars and make the maximum use you can. So that's my sermon, Mr. Chairman. But
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments for Paul in regard to this matter?
Paul, you'll be the reporting mechanism then for this. You'll
Yeah.
request the information on how the funds were used.
Yep. So the auditor transferred all of the information over to me. I have signed use agreements from all but a couple that I'll be reaching out. And again, the transfer is contingent on the signed use agreement, which I have pulled up here. And then, so I will be taking over the reporting mechanism from the auditor for this section, for this item and these payments.
My initial thought, I guess, and I appreciate all the work that our auditor put into to doing this, and as it was presented on the agenda last week. I'm just curious what anybody's thoughts are, since this is, I guess, our first, I don't know if it's our first go-around doing this. I feel like we've been doing it, but, and just distributing it. But in any event, if we just divide it out evenly, it's $7,500. for each entity, and if we're gonna make it fair, that I would be in agreement to doing that. And if not that, then I would, prefer to accept, the distribution that our auditor prepared.
Okay, any other comments by the commission? Any public input on this matter? Okay, I guess, again, we're looking for board action, so,
Mr. Chair, if there's a desire to take the time and visit with these entities as, with two commissioners, I think that's a time well spent of the commissioner's resource, because there's a lot of uniqueness from every one of these entities as far as how their budgets work, how they just utilize the money, whether it's from somewhat prevention to housing post treatments. And there may be, some rationale developed for how somebody may need to have it. For instance, one entity is owned by a for-profit healthcare facility. So that may make an impact, I think, into a decision of how funds like this should be distributed. So I would encourage that two commissioners spend the time, get to know these entities, and try to come up with a system to distribute it. I know that there is somewhat of a time crunch or a desire to get this money out, so it can be utilized, which is important. But that would be my opinion today, so thank you.
Commissioner Poppins, what timeline are we on, do you know?
Paul, that would be a question for Paul.
Okay.
I think we would want to get them out in fiscal year 2024, but I would need confirmation from the auditor on that.
Okay.
Commissioner Poppins, I agree with the two commissioners. From my standpoint, at this juncture, I think we should get the money out and be done with it, and then implement the two commissioners to evaluate for future distribution, if that would be a meaningful compromise.
Well, that's what I'm thinking as well. I mean, once we have the reporting mechanism in place and they've actually reported on what the funds were used for, I think we'll have a better understanding of that. You didn't bring any distribution in all your talks with them? You didn't have a proposed distribution?
Not at all. I
Okay.
took it upon myself just to learn about what they do, how they utilize their funds, and where they receive their funding. And there are significant differences. All have the objective to try to treat, and they all do great things. It's just that we have a limited resource. And then you throw in the aspect of the percentage of individuals out of Lincoln County into their mix. There are significant differences that probably should play into it. Your proposal is just simply splitting it. I could support that today and then follow with Commissioner Schmidt's recommendation of in the future to move forward with an event where commissioners spend the time and come with a recommendation, so.
We do have another item directly after this that could solve that secondary idea as well.
Yep, thank you.
Item number 10, you mean?
Tiffany, if your motion, I would second that.
Yep, if we're ready for it, that would be my motion to distribute it $7,500 to each of the entities.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Landine, second by Poppins. Any discussion? Okay, do we all know what we're voting for? Yep. Okay, all right, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Gibbon?
Yes, motion carried.
So this directly relates that again. I have the item as board action to direct the commission office to create a process for the allocation of the National Opioid Settlement Funds. Based on discussion earlier, that could also change to being some kind of smaller work group that creates that process and discusses that. So basically, however you guys would like to set that up, we can get working on that for the next year.
Okay, so you're not requesting board action today, then?
No, I would request board action and then, but, So my item here would have the commission office, myself, create the process. And then based on the discussion you guys were having before, we could always do something instead of the commission office do it, just set up some kind of committee with 2 commissioners. Again, that could be directed by the commission office. I could coordinate with you guys and find who has the time and desire, and we could work together to create a process.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I think this is a valid way of trying to move forward with this, but we do have a new board that will be in our seats. I would recommend that this item be brought up in one of your first meetings in January with the new board.
Okay, that's
But
good input.
I would say, Commissioner Poppins, I agree with you, but I think we could have board action to initiate this process to begin, which doesn't eliminate any new commissioners from coming on. It's just that now we have a process that we're going to be executing for 2025.
Yeah, if you would like, you could
Yeah.
create it as something that gets set as part of your first meeting of next year, when you set the boards in committee. And then if you approve it now, then I could start drafting up creating some of the framework and some of the initial work, so that when the positions are selected in 2025, then we can hit the ground running, if that's something you would like.
Okay, so.
I think this is a great job for you to start creating and how to allocate this money. I think once we get the reports back, if you can compile that into how the money was used by each of these different entities and bring it to the commission with a recommendation, whether you meet with one or another commissioner to get their opinions, I would leave that to you. And go from there so we can take board action on it once that's done. So I could support a motion to direct our commission office to start that process.
But public input.
Okay, is there any public input on this matter? Please state your name and address.
Linda Montgomery from Fairview, South Dakota. I would just like to add, as I was sitting there listening to both these last two, is a couple people from the community to go with the commissioners might be prudent. We have a number in the community that have worked in various agencies, and it might add another layer to the selection and the vetting of these people, just a suggestion.
Thank you. Any other public input? Okay, I guess now I'm ready to entertain a motion.
Was that your motion, Commissioner Landine?
It would be my motion.
I would second that motion.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Landine and a second by Poppins. Any discussion?
No, Commissioner Schmidt, second.
Oh, Commissioner Schmidt, second, my fault. Any discussion? Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Landine?
Yes.
Schmidt?
Yes.
Gibbon?
Yes, motion carried. Okay, next, I guess Wendy.
Yes, good morning, Wendy Sweeter, SDSU Extension 4-H Educator, Lincoln County. The first item I'm talking today is the Lincoln County Fairgrounds Foundation is planning to do a gun raffle again this year for the second year, along with their Raise the Roof event, March 29th. This is just trying to get ahead of our timeline a little bit, so we are more prepared when we get closer to that March timeframe. We will be selling 100 tickets at $20 a ticket. They have their annual meeting this evening, so I think they'll discuss more of the exact items that they plan to raffle off.
Including a sour cream raisin pie that the commissioners,
That'll be an
sitting
auction
commissioners
item.
much purchase at a starting bid of $800.
Just a point of clarification, I think that I've bought 2, and I have yet to participate in either of those pies.
Well, fortunately, you have a good knee now, so you can chase after that pie.
All right,
Is there public? Otherwise, I'll have a motion to approve.
I guess it's.
I don't think it
No, this is
requires.
just notice, yes.
Yes, in fact, didn't we approved this last
You
week?
actually did one for our shooting sports club. They do a separate raffle that,
All right.
that they do,
Okay.
so.
Next, Wendy, your annual report.
Okay. Is there a way to make it the whole screen? Is that a way to do that? Thank you. Okay.
You know, with inflation, Schmidt, it should be $1,000 pie this year.
How was that dog you bought?
It's awesome.
Okay, so this is just a year in review sort of thing for my department. Lincoln County has 6 community clubs and 2 spin clubs. The spin clubs are considered special interest clubs, and that is our shooting sports group and our dog club. The total traditional 4-H club enrollment was 252 kids with 31 volunteers in the 2023-24 program year. Our clubs do a lot of community service projects within their own communities. So they're putting to work the 3rd H and the 4-H pledge, which is my hands to larger service. And so this is each of kind of what some of our clubs have done. They've collected toys and blankets. They've tidied up the Worthing Veterans Park. They've painted benches at the fairgrounds. They've prepared bags for breast cancer patients. Collected food and personal care items for their local food pantry, and one has hosted a first aid day for anyone in the county to come learn about that. All of our clubs also participated in a community carnival that we hosted November 10th at the fairgrounds. They each had their own carnival-style game that they set up. We served popcorn for free, and everybody had a good time. Our shooting sports, we had 67 members enrolled this last program year, which was up, and we have added 2 new volunteers to the shooting sports program specifically for this program year already. Shooting sports practice will begin January 5th and be every Sunday through April. We had 41 adults participate in a shooting sports coaches training on Saturday at our facility. They came from 8 counties in South Dakota, and 2 people came from Iowa to get that certification done for the different counties that they will be volunteering in. Our junior leaders is open to 4-Hers who are 14 to 18 years old. We had a kickoff right after recognition event the first Sunday in November. This last year, they did an outing to Great Shots. They made flannel hearts to give to mothers and babies in the NICU in Sioux Falls, and then we are working on doing a community service project yet this month. We offered different workshops this year with the addition of Tracy to our department. She was able to offer a robotics and STEM camp in June, as well as some colleagues and I hosted a poultry judges clinic in April and a static judges clinic